Hey guys, welcome back to McClure Made Outdoors, and today I am back by the pond, and it's been probably about a month since I've dug it out. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update of what it's looking like. When we bought this property about 8 months ago, the pond, you could hardly even see it because it had so many lily pads covering the water and water meal all over it, and just around the edges there were so many bushes and plants that had just taken over. You couldn't even hardly get to the edge. So that was one of the first things I did, was just cleaning up around the pond. But then here about a month ago is when I rented the excavator, and luckily I was able to get that for $1,100 for 5 days, and I only used it on the pond for maybe three and a half days, just because I had other projects around the house. I was moving a shed, tearing down a building, and cleaning concrete out of our old barn to pour some new. So for $1,100, and I had time off from work, so I used it and was able to use it. And the size of this pond when we bought it was probably 0.2 acres. And I went on Google Maps and I searched it out and then did some calculations, and I've almost doubled the size of our pond just by doing it myself for about $1,100. So this area right behind me is a decent part of just the amount of pond that I added. And as you can tell, the water level is coming up. I've been pumping water out of our creek behind us, and there's about probably 2 to 3 feet left in the creek right now. So probably here in the next few weeks, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting some pea gravel, and I've got some landscape fabric I'm going to put down, and we're going to line this side with some pea gravel just as a spot where if later on we can go swimming and come and just cool down. And then right around this area over here, we're actually going to bring in some of the landscaping rock that we had from our last house, since we had a ton of it. The guy used it for a fence line around his property, and so I brought over a bunch of it, and we're going to use it and put it all in here to help with the fish habitat. So during all this pond dig out and cleanup, I pulled out a ton of trees, and that included quite a few big stumps. And as you can tell behind me, I have one of the stumps that I actually threw in with the tractor. I pushed it in there and have noticed there have been a ton of fish just clinging around it. So I'm going to try to clean up some of those other stumps that I have, knock off some of the dirt, and place them more along the outside of the back of the pond also. So as you can tell behind me right now, I have my aerator going, and this is a fully solar setup because I am probably 600 to 700 feet from our house, and I do not want to spend the money on running all that wire back here just to get electrical. So I bought some Renogy solar panels and an inverter, and then I got a Blue Diamond aerator pump, and it has been working flawlessly for me. It comes on about every 4 hours for an hour and then turns off, and it doesn't really run during the night. But here pretty soon I'll have a video that'll show my setup, and I'm hoping to actually mount it and have it higher up off the ground on some 4x4s and mount the panels up high. So as you can tell just by even looking at the pond, you probably know this is not what the pond naturally looks like, the water in it. I actually use pond dye, and I really just started looking into it right when we got the place. I used a little bit of dye back at our old pond just because it was so brownish looking. But when we came over to this one, I started looking into what the pond dye actually does. And reading up on it, the pond dye just helps from the sun going all the way down to the bottom of the pond and sort of helping that bacteria and everything grow at the bottom. And it'll help with some of the evaporation. So I started buying pond dye, and so far right now, the pond dye that I've been getting has been working, and I really like the look of it. It's that bluish green, and I've been getting it at Tractor Supply. And this is the stuff that I've been using. It's called Midnight Bayou, and it's just a lake and pond colorant. So if you're interested in having your pond look like this, you can go to Tractor Supply. Most of them have this, and I'll put a link to it also. But one other thing that I've been doing ever since we've got this pond is just around the edge. I noticed the first time my feet went into the water, it came out and there was a ton of muck because my foot sank down probably a good 12 inches. So I started getting some of this 4X pond cleaner off of Amazon, and I mean, just even cleaning up the pond, cleaning it up around the edges, help pull some of that muck out. But just using some of this stuff, I have noticed that whenever our dogs go swimming in the pond, they're coming out with less black muck all over their paws. So if you're interested in this 4X pond cleaner or some of this Midnight Bayou, I will put the links in the bottom for you guys. So if you can't tell about my reaction so far in this video, I am really happy about how this pond project turned out. I got to expand the pond out, clean it out, and you know, most of the time with these types of projects, you always wish you would have made stuff bigger. But you never know, maybe here in a year, 2 years, I'll make the pond even bigger. But for me, just being able to have those days off from work, being able to rent the excavator for $1,100 for the week, and then I rented the skid steer for 1 day to move all the dirt. So for $1,350, I was able to get all this done when I actually had it priced out by a company and they were gonna charge me $9 to $10 grand to do this. So I'm happy you guys got to see the pond project, and hopefully I'll have a few more projects around the pond to show you coming up. I'll have the aerator video coming up, and thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys later.